Welcome, everyone. As this is a new venture for AMCTO, we want to introduce the audience to what the purpose is of this video and why we're doing it. My name is Alana Arthurs, and I'm currently the AMCTO president and the CAO with the Township of Douro-Dummer. 4 times each year, AMCTO publishes the Municipal Monitor, which is a leading membership magazine featuring articles from our leaders and all aspects of municipal administration. As our association evolves, our members have been asking for more than just our printed articles, and they want the opportunity to hear directly from the authors and engage with our content in different ways. This video is our first go at having a more thoughtful discussion around an important article from our 2023 Q2 edition and an important topic in general when it comes to local government. We hope this video helps further these important conversations and brings the monitor to life. With June being Pride Month, we thought it was important for us to explore the intersection of local government and the LGBTQIA2S+ community. We also know that in some communities, the very idea of celebrating Pride can be one that is met with opposition. Rob Tremblay, CAO for the town of Renfrew and past AMCTO president, has written a piece for the Municipal Monitor about his journey as an openly gay municipal leader and what Pride means to him. So Rob, I'm going to turn it over to you just to sort of give us a high level of your experience and maybe a little bit about the article that you provided for those that haven't had the opportunity to read it.
So thanks for the opportunity. When David reached out for my reflections, I tried to make it about leadership and authentic leadership, and that I feel in my role I'm successful when if we're asking people to lead by example and to be authentic and to espouse the values of our corporation, whether they be respect, integrity, commitment, that I needed to do that as an out person. So I came out 29 years ago. So I'm 45 years old. I was 16. And it's been a journey. And the article shares a few tidbits of conversations you have along the way that you don't necessarily tell your entire story to everybody that you meet or that you provide service to as part of your job, but how kind of you cope through it. And work is an important part of who we are as people, but there's much more to that. And the other thing I should just say is I'm a middle-class 45-year-old white guy. So I don't speak for everybody in our community. It's a very diverse community. It's evolving. It's a little bit under attack right now where there's a bit of a pushback in terms of inclusion. But I think it's important to always kind of check in and ensure that as leaders, we're authentic, that we're leading our teams with that in mind, that with kind of the lens of inclusion, and understand that there's some pushback happening in the community right now, but it doesn't mean that the work doesn't stop. It means that we continue to kind of lead by example.
Thanks, Rob. And you and I have known each other for a long time, and we've really not had this conversation, and I don't think for any specific reason, but we both have moved into CAO roles, and maybe you can share a little bit. I'm sure your experience is slightly different than mine in the municipal leadership realm, so maybe you can just share some of the challenges you experienced as a leader and a CAO in some small municipalities in Ontario.
Yeah, I've worked in kind of the 3 most conservative, small C conservative parts of Ontario: Lanark County, Renfrew County, and Grey County. But I've always felt kind of accepted where I was, either within the staff team or even within the broader community, right, where people get to know you. And I think it's the challenge of municipal government. As a clerk, we're both from clerk backgrounds. Yay, CAOs that were clerks. You get to know people and candidates through the election process, and you get to connect with people through agendas and minutes and meetings and stuff. And that just carries through to my role as a CAO, is being able to do that. I find I spend a lot of time fixing stuff. So I'd love to be doing more visionary, big picture stuff, and we try to do that too. But you go in trying to, as a new generational leadership, to try to figure out what was going on and how to position the municipality forward. And I think inclusion is part of that new dynamic, right? We're not just worried about issuing dog tags and selling additional bag tags for garbage. It's more than that now. It's a bit more of a broader lens, and it forces us as leaders to make sure the operational stuff, the day-to-day stuff, is running like it should, but at the same time that we're having the more difficult conversations with our teams about where we need to go and how we do that and how we be as inclusive as possible.
Absolutely. As I think about our experiences together, we've sort of run in parallel as moving into AMCTO president, yourself 2 terms ago and myself now. So how has that experience, do you think, been different than it may have been for somebody who's not in your particular situation?
It was interesting because it was the pandemic, and I know you and I were chatting about, oh, is it your turn? Is it my turn? How does this fit with your life and your work commitments? And for me, it made some sense at the time. I didn't get a chance to go out and meet with zones, but I am a bit of a social butterfly. So the AMCTO conference is always a good way to network and connect with people. And I always say, as I mentor other people, it's like find a bunch of friends that you believe in and who believe in you, who encourage you along the way. And I think that's how we connected, was through an AMCTO session and working not far from each other. And I think that's what we got to continue doing, is finding those connections. So as president, my role was a little bit of renewal at the organization. So we had a lot of changes at AMCTO, and the pandemic probably escalated that a little bit, but it was recognizing where we were and valuing that in our history, but then also trying to position the organization moving forward. And that's not dissimilar from what we do. And the other one is just bringing on new board members and making sure we're building a solid team and understanding everybody's skills and strengths and bringing that to bear as we try to make AMCTO the best thing it can be. And I find that's super rewarding work, is building the team, understanding what makes it tick, and then trying to get everybody on the same page to move everything forward.
For sure, for sure. You certainly are a social butterfly, and anybody who is listening to this prior to the conference, take the time to search Rob out. Always a fun conversation. So what can we do as municipal leaders for those that might not be as social and as comfortable in the situation, just to support them in this environment?
Yeah, and I first want to say no pressure on people coming out of the closet. I remember attending a youth group when I was 17, and they were basically saying everybody needs to come out. That's the way it's going to be better. And really it has been. It gets better, that slogan that has happened. But I think our experiences are like our DNA. They're like quite different. And timing, I've said to friends about other things happening in their life, you'll know when it's time. But I think the other part is just understand who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, just as a person, but also as a leader, and try to highlight the stuff that you're really good at and bring good things to bear, and work on the things you're not so good at, and make sure you have people on your team that kind of call you out and tell you how things are and make you better. And I think we've tried to do that as leaders with the AMCTO and encouraging that within the team, not just the staff team, but also the board team. So yeah, I think it's just a journey, right? It's a journey in the ride, and I've been fortunate. I think it starts at home. I've said in the article, my mom viewed my curly hair in the same way that she viewed my sexual orientation, and she always used to say. And I was a bit of the book smart kid. My brother helped my dad in the cement business, and my sister was sporty spice and busy and even more energetic than me. And mom always said, all my kids are different, but they're all special in their own different way. And I think it starts at home. And so if you feel appreciated, you do great things. And I think that's what we should encourage as a sector in terms of the people we get to work with. And I think the same for our community. We need to just highlight where we need to go and appreciate who we are as people and make sure that we're moving forward.
Absolutely. I think we've come a long way. Are there barriers that you see that, we can be aware of moving forward? Is there anything that, we should have, be mindful of as we move through this?
Yeah, and I think in terms of supports, I think EAP programs, I know we take them for granted, but they're super helpful. We just looked at our benefits program and paramedical support, and we didn't have mental health coverage. So we added mental health coverage. Small things like that for everybody are really important. The other one is giving people opportunities to be themselves and to shine, and kind of looking at the team and seeing how we can do that. I think as leaders within the community, it's also just working with stakeholders. And I've said to people, you can start a committee for everything, but it's not necessarily the best way of going about it. And I was involved with the Pride movement early on. And there's some movements that are best on the outside, pushing the inside to do better. So it's like building those good stakeholder relations. And sometimes that is a committee, but oftentimes it's not. A lot of times it's relationship building. And I think we should spend a little bit of time doing that and encouraging our elected officials to be able to do that too. Not everything is a photo op. Not everything is easy. Telling people the truth can be hard, but it usually leads to better relationship building, which then ultimately leads to better decision making.
I agree, the relationship building and just the education with some of our council members as we see things like raising the flag and pride crosswalks and some of those items that are coming up and being opposed to in some situations. So unfortunate, but I think the education and the relationships are certainly important. Is there anything else that you'd like to add for anybody watching?
Well, I just say, enjoy the ride. Like I'm 2/3 of the way of my career. And I remember when I started and people were talking about retirement, I'm like, ugh, why are they talking about the retirement? And I think now I'm talking in days and weeks and months already.
We were talking retirement last week.
I was. But I think it's enjoy the ride. Municipal government, local government is such a rewarding career. But as I said at an all staff meeting on Thursday, it's not for everybody. So we expect you to be town ambassadors and believe in this place, the organization, but believe in this place, this town. And if you don't, or if you're overwhelmed by it and it's not for you, it's not for you. So what we've got to do is keep the good ones and attract new ones because there's a lot of work. There's never a dull moment in municipal government. And I feel that inclusion and these types of conversations are important for that. And for instance, there's things we don't tolerate anymore. I was talking to a staff member who said, oh, well, when I was interviewed, they asked if I was able to do overtime because I had kids. And it's like, or the new parental leave and like, oh my God, these guys on roads are going to take 4 weeks off and then 4 weeks off later. And it's like, get over it already. Like it's the reality. This is a positive. Support your workers and go for it. And so there's an interesting comment in the article where when I was interviewed in Whitewater, the mayor who was trying to be inclusive said, hey, we're trying to save our rural schools. You have kids. And I could see all the members of the panel cringe and realize like, oh my God, we can't ask that. And this is the guy we want. And maybe we shouldn't go there. And I joked and said, no, I don't have kids, but I have 2 cute dogs. I don't know if they count. But the other one is don't take yourself too seriously. So you can be involved in serious work, but still enjoy yourself and meet people where they are. Not everybody has figured this out. Not everybody has read the how to or Career Community for Dummies book, but it doesn't mean you don't try and you try to be authentic as much as you can.
That's great advice. Rob, thanks so much for being so open and honest today. I'm really glad that it was you and I that got to do this first. And I hope that everyone watching the conversation has learned a little bit about your personal journey and those teachings, and they take them into their professional and their personal lives. Thanks again to everyone who watched, and we're looking forward to bringing more Municipal Monitor articles to life later in 2023.